In the 19th century, scientists began to formulate an established procedure for running experiments and for testing hypotheses. They wanted to create a way to distinguish the real work that they were doing with the pseudoscience practiced by charlatans and the ignorant. They invented the scientific method, a standardized approach to experimentation that all scientists could follow and adhere to. This, in turn, allowed other scientists to recognize the validity of each other's tests and theories. Now, based on the work of Aristotle, the method involves making conjectures or hypotheses, deriving predictions from them as logical consequences, and then carrying out experiments based on those predictions to determine whether the original conjecture was correct. So, what's the social media lab? Well, fast forward 200 years, and once again, we find ourselves beset upon all sides by so-called gurus and experts claiming they've found the secret to making millions online, and you can too for just 4 easy payments of $997. Who are today's Aristotles? Who can we turn to today to find out what really works or doesn't on social media? The Social Media Lab, of course. Launched by Agorapulse in 2017, the Social Media Lab's scientists, they follow standard scientific method, but applied to today's marketing conundrums. They ask the questions that are plaguing business owners everywhere, then run experiments designed to get real data in real answers. Why is that necessary? Well, the fact is, most business owners just don't have the time to run these tests themselves. Yes, every business owner should test different approaches and techniques. Every brand needs to determine for themselves what topics and tactics resonate best with their audience. But who has time to come up with a way to share 30 posts to Instagram in a month to test how many hashtags really drive the most reach and engagement? Well, to put it bluntly, we do. So how are these tests conducted? Well, every test starts with a question or hypothesis. Often pulled from the headlines and latest trending topics, these questions fly in the face of accepted standards of social media marketing. Once we have a test in mind, we map out what data we think we'll need in order to come to a statistically significant conclusion. This typically includes a determination of how many social posts, to which platforms, and what other variables may need to be controlled. The other benefit that the lab brings to these experiments is access to multiple profiles across multiple vertical industries using varying sizes of audiences. Now, once the format and content of each test is determined, posts are scheduled out and monitored. At the conclusion of the test, the requisite data is collected, such as reach or engagement, and then analyzed to determine the outcome. But this brings up an important point about our tests, results, and what we publish. We aren't always right. And in fact, with some of these tests, the fact that we didn't bust the rumor is itself the shocking part. So, what are the top 10 myths the lab has busted? Those were the boring details of how we've reached some pretty stunning conclusions over the course of conducting dozens and dozens of experiments. Are you ready now to dive into some of those top tests? Are you interested in learning what some of the social media's most shocking myths are and what the reality is? Myth number 1. Negative Facebook ad comments should be left in place. When businesses use Facebook ads to promote posts, one of the outcomes advertisers hope for is a lot of comments. Comments on an ad will increase the overall amount of engagement, encourage others to participate in the conversation, and bring more organic, also known as free, visibility to the ad itself, which has led some advertisers to advise businesses that it's a good idea to leave negative comments in place. All publicity is good publicity, right? Well, that didn't sit too well with us, so we decided to test that. Our hypothesis? The sentiment of comments will affect people's tendency to click on your Facebook ads. We tested this by running 2 identical ads targeting website visitors from just the past 3 days, one for positive comments and one for negative. To avoid overlap, we actually kept one ad running at a time, and we seeded the comments ourselves in order to control the environment. Results? The Facebook ad with positive comments had a 56% higher click-through rate than the ad with negative comments, which means that ads with positive comments were more likely to get clicks than ads with negative comments. Therefore, it's critically important that businesses use a tool like Agorapulse to make sure they see every comment and respond accordingly. You may not realize this, but if you're running ads on Facebook and it's not a boosted post, it's an ad that you created using Ads Manager, the only place you'll see comments on that ad is inside Ads Manager or Agorapulse. Myth number 2. Using a third-party publishing tool will kill your reach and engagement. For years, third-party tools like ours have been plagued with the notion that using a tool to schedule and publish content to social networks like Facebook is a bad idea. And despite the networks themselves stating that they do not penalize users for turning to tools for help, the rumors and claims persist. So let's test. Our hypothesis? That posting with third-party tools has no negative impact on organic reach. In other words, using a tool like Buffer or Hootsuite or Agorapulse shouldn't hurt the reach of your posts. We tested this by using 3 well-established Facebook pages and 3 scheduling tools, Buffer, Hootsuite, and Agorapulse. We posted a mix of post types with a varying schedule over the course of the test period. And by the way, most experiments that we conduct, they're conducted over at least 4 weeks to eliminate holidays and other variables that might impact a faster test. So what do we find here? That posting with these tools actually had a positive impact on reach. We knew the use of tools shouldn't harm posts, but that result shocked even us. Myth number 3. Posting the same content on Facebook will kill your reach and engagement. The idea of always sharing new and unique posts and information to social networks, Facebook in particular, sounds great in theory, but how do you find the time to keep up with that machine? And what if you have lots of great articles in your archive that are still relevant today? We call that content evergreen. And if you want that content to continue to work for us today, we have to find ways to keep using and sharing it. But won't that hurt our reach on Facebook? Won't our fans and the algorithm tire of the same posts over and over? That's what we set out to test. Our hypothesis? That evergreen content will see a decrease in reach and engagement the more it is posted to Facebook. We tested this over 4 weeks on my own Facebook page for the social media hat. There were no hashtags or mentions used on any post, and these were the only posts scheduled during this period. I actually shared 3 linked posts a day for 28 days using just 12 different articles, which resulted in each article being repeated a whopping 7 times within that month. So what happened? Well, the final post for nearly every article received less reach than the first share did. Interestingly, though, every post saw varying levels of reach and engagement throughout the test. We saw similar results in a different test over on LinkedIn. So while you likely shouldn't repeat the same content that often, clearly, sharing the same content regularly can result in reaching and engaging more fans. Myth number 4. Participating in Instagram pods will bring you more reach and engagement. According to Jen Herman, an Instagram pod is a group of like-minded people on Instagram who connect via a group DM or Facebook group and proceed to like and comment on every single post that the others in the pod share to Instagram. The proposed result is increased post engagement, genuine comments, and as a result, better rankings in the Instagram algorithm. The idea here is that by getting this fabricated increased engagement, you can trick Instagram's algorithm and your posts will show up more in the feed of your followers. But does that actually work? Let's test it. Our hypothesis? The activity from Instagram pods will not result in an increase in impressions for posts not shared in the pods. In other words, what happens to our other posts? To test this, we posted to Instagram once a day for 7 days, adding each post to 2 pods we became members of, and compared the engagement on those posts to our past 7 posts, and then the next 7 posts. So what happened? Well, impressions went up 6.41% per post, and engagement went down 4.41% per post. But the increase of 6.41% in impressions was due to an increase in followers during that period, making the increase not statistically relevant. Therefore, Instagram pods are a waste of time. There was no measurable long-term improvement in Instagram post performance. Myth number 5. Instagram feed ads perform better than story ads. Instagram stories are a relatively new feature, which means ads in a story format appearing between other users' stories would seem to be less effective. Conventional wisdom would suggest that with fewer people viewing and using stories, putting ads within the normal Instagram feed would be the better way to go. What do you think? Should feed ads outperform story ads? Well, that's what we want to know. Our hypothesis? There's no difference whether you use Instagram feed ads or stories when you're driving traffic to a product that caters to all age groups. The premise here being that there may be a demographic difference between story and feed users. So we wanted to be sure to test something that didn't appeal more to one group or the other. We tested by creating 2 similar ads for feed and story placement, and we compared the results after statistical significance was reached. Well, what were those results? Instagram stories reached 44% more users and had a 23% higher conversion rate than feed ads. It's quite clear that ads on Instagram stories are way more cost effective at driving traffic to our site than Instagram feed ads. Our data supports it and even hints that traffic from stories is of a higher quality. Myth number 6. It's better to put Instagram hashtags in the first comment. Because the success or failure of an individual Instagram post is so driven by the correct use of hashtags, a lot of effort has been employed by users to find magical combinations of techniques and choices. One such claim is that if you post a picture to Instagram and then immediately place your hashtags into the first comment instead of the original post itself, that post will get more reach. That sounded fishy to us. So we tested it. Our hypothesis? Instagram hashtags in the original post will have higher reach than hashtags in comments. Well, how do we test this? Spanning 3 different accounts, 51 posts with hashtags in the comments were shared, and 66 posts with hashtags in the original post were created. What do we find? Posts with hashtags in the original post had a combined average reach of 66, while posts with hashtags in the comments had a combined average reach of 51. That means Instagram posts with hashtags in the original post outperformed posts with hashtags in the comments. Reach was nearly 30% higher. Myth number 7. Text-only posts on LinkedIn will perform poorly. On LinkedIn, just like on Facebook or Twitter, users have the choice of sharing text posts, images, or links with link previews. We've seen from other experiments and trusted experts that on Facebook, text-only posts don't work at all. But on LinkedIn, our friend Melanie Dodaro of Top Dog Social Media, she says otherwise. So curious, we decided to test to see if she was right and we were wrong. Our hypothesis? Text-only updates on LinkedIn will have the lowest amount of views. We tested this by posting 107 times across 3 accounts using text, link, and photo posts over the course of the experiment, including looking at posts on Melanie's account. So what do the results actually show? Comparing the combined averages of links and photos to the average of text posts, we see text had an increase of 1,069% views. That seems, based on this data, that text posts are preferred on LinkedIn over any other post type. Note that video posts, and certainly not live video, weren't included in this test and likely perform better than any other kind of post. Hey, perhaps that's something new we can test. How about myth number 8? Long posts perform better, particularly on LinkedIn. So, if a text post performs best on LinkedIn, the next logical question is, well, how long should those posts be, right? Again, conventional wisdom here suggests that longer posts should do quite well on the professional network. But is that truly the case? Let's find out. Our hypothesis? LinkedIn posts with longer character count will have a higher number of views. We tested this by scheduling 14 short posts and 14 long posts to 3 accounts spread out once daily over a 2-week period. The short posts were all about 140 characters or less, while the long posts had significantly higher character counts, but they varied in length. The results? Shockingly, short text posts on LinkedIn resulted in 13.85% higher views per post compared to long posts. Nearly 14% higher views. Here's another example of when we proved ourselves wrong and discovered something truly interesting about how to best post to a social network. Myth number 9. Short tweets within the original 140 characters perform best. While there's no shortage of opinion with regard to the change in tweet size from 140 to 280 characters, there was absolutely no data as to whether it was worthwhile to use that extra real estate. Should Twitter users continue to be as brief as possible, particularly considering we just saw how much more successful short posts on LinkedIn are? Let's test that. Our hypothesis? Tweeting with the maximum allowed 280 characters will not result in more engagement or impressions. How do we test that? Well, we posted to 5 different Twitter accounts using a combination of 9 tweets with 140 characters and 9 tweets with 280 characters. And what we find? Impressions of 280 character tweets were nearly 8% higher than the 140 character tweets. Likes and clicks were also higher. And it's easy to see then that the 280 character tweets performed better, but statistically and scientifically speaking, the results weren't significant, unfortunately. So that's a test we'll soon revisit to get more statistically significant data. Finally, myth number 10. Using emoji in tweets results in higher impressions and engagement. Now, we've previously studied the use of emoji within Instagram posts, and we found conclusively that it helped with engagement. Would the same be true for Twitter? HubSpot and WordStream both claimed that it was so, but had little scientific data to support those claims. So we decided to test for ourselves. Our hypothesis? Using at least one emoji in a tweet will result in higher impressions and engagement. In the test, we gathered 100 tweets without emojis from the @Agorapulse Twitter account and measured impressions and engagement. We then posted 20 tweets using 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, and then 5 emojis. We did this to get a good average across 100 tweets with emoji, and then we could also report on which amount of emoji produced the best results. So, 2 tests in 1. What do we find? Tweets with emoji, on average, had nearly 17% fewer impressions and nearly 40% lower engagement. You'd assume the friendly nature of emojis would help get more impressions and engagement, but the data says otherwise. So, let's wrap things up. We've been testing various questions and myths and concerns about social media for some time now, and have collected some really interesting data and conclusions. But we're far from done. We have multiple experiments in progress right now with big plans for the coming months. For instance, we'll be taking a close look at how effective video really is on multiple platforms and considering some of the different kinds and styles of video content you might post. So stay tuned for that. Some of you may be wondering about other tests and questions you have, or myths you'd like to see busted. You're more than welcome to suggest future experiments. You can subscribe to our podcast to hear our latest experiments and results, or tune in to our weekly Facebook Live, where we discuss some of the findings from some of our previous tests. We hope you found these experiments and conclusions to be as fascinating and enlightening as we have.